Good afternoon, dear colleagues and friends in Boston. I'm speaking to you here from George in South Africa. My name is John North. I represent the Globally Responsible Leadership Initiative, and it's a great privilege and honor to be joining virtually this panel today. I would like to share 3 points on today's topic, and I think it starts with the topic itself: coping with resiliency, adaptability, and vulnerability. I would be of the view that we should look to move beyond merely coping. As networks, and potentially networks of networks, we have the ability, and I think the mandate, to enable flourishing, thriving, perhaps even through resiliency and adaptability. The second point is an example which my colleagues on the panel today were all closely involved in. And I want to use that example just to illustrate how I believe networks, when they play the convening role that they can, and when they collaborate to be the best for the world rather than compete to be the best in the world, can have a big and systemic impact. I'm thinking specifically of the COP21 event that took place 2 years ago, where through our networks we convened a network of networks, which for the interim we're calling the Alliance for Global Responsibility in Education, and harnessed through that the voices and opinions and energy of 10,000 universities and colleges globally, when we developed an open letter to the COP21 Secretariat in Paris, and it was handed over by Ian himself to the COP21 Secretary General ahead of the climate change negotiations. In that letter, and I'm sure Ian may be able to tell you a little bit more about that, we urged governments and ministers to recognize and harness the role in education and research that universities and colleges can play in addressing our climate change challenges. The third point that I would like to highlight today is something which we at the GRLI hold very dear, our guiding principles. And I'm not going to talk to you about all of them, but I do think that it's quite useful in this context to recognize that when we are developing global responsibility, whether in education or business or society, it requires work, in our view, on at least 3 levels. We summarize them as me, we, and all of us. So what does that mean? It requires engaged and passionate individuals that are empowered to make a change, that are prepared to start that change personally, individually. Secondly, it requires organizations, and these may be networks, these may be companies or universities. It requires the we, committed again to developing global responsibility through their practice and through their operation. Then on the third level, the all of us. I think this is where networks play such a critical role. If we want to create systemic change, change that involves not just individuals and organizations or networks, we need networks of networks. Again, I'm very excited about the possibility of working with my co-panelists and many others on developing an alliance for global responsibility in education. And as you continue to deliberate and discuss the role of networks today, I wish you all success and look forward to hearing the outcomes. Thank you very much for this opportunity.